What's up, everybody? I've got Sam Bam from Faster Pussycat here with me tonight. What's up, buddy?
Hello.
How you
How's it
doing?
going? I'm going right now to Facebook to share this.
Perfect. Yeah, me too. So we can get everybody joining in on the fun with us.
Yeah.
So the idea when I first started this was that we were just going to, film these just off air and, upload them whenever. And right before the first episode, Mr. Matt Starr from Ace Frehley's band suggested, he was like, hey, what if we find a way to put this on Facebook before we do this first one? And ended up putting all of them on Facebook Live. And, people seem to have fun in the comment sections and whatnot. So it's a little more interactive than just, uploading an old YouTube clip.
Yeah. I mean, hey, doing it live in front of actual people is, that's a good time.
It's
Let me
funny
see. How do
because
I there we
some
go.
people think that just the conversation gets so casual halfway through it, you forget that you're recording an interview.
I'll definitely forget once my Facebook decides to work and let me share it.
Yeah,
Oh, here we go. Share on a page. I was trying to share it to mine and the anyway. Yes.
okay, cool. I just shared it as well and tagged your page and Faster's page, so they'll be able to access
There it
that
is.
from my feed as well.
Cool.
So I think we're about ready to, I've only got about 400 questions written down for you, so this should only take about 8 hours. Oh, it was such a bad joke that he froze.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Am I back?
Oh, yeah, you're back. Cool. Think we are good
Hello?
to go again. Can you hear me?
Oh, it said my internet connection is unstable. Wait.
It'll be all right.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, everything is good to
Yeah.
go. I promise that you
It
won't get lost in transition more than Jeremy did during his.
it just showed up, yeah, your internet connection's unstable. It's like that's not the only thing that's unstable.
It's like I'm just trying to relax right now, computer. I don't need these jabs at my personal life right now.
I feel attacked.
Absolutely. Well, cool, man. Let's go ahead and kind of dive into this real quick. One thing I really wanted to talk to you about first before, we kind of dived into the whole Faster Pussycat thing and all of that is something that you're currently working on with a mutual friend, Mr. Alex Kane. So you've got a little fun project with him called The Have and the Have-Nots. It's you, him, Johnny Martin from LA Guns, and then I think on the recording, if I'm correct, am I allowed to say who played drums on that?
We haven't said, so
Okay,
let's not
that's
say it.
that's why I stopped myself before that because it was in the text and I wasn't sure if that was
Yeah.
news that was out there or not. So I could have just fucking ruined everything for you guys, but I'm getting better at this. So
Nice.
so I want to know how a nice young man like you stumbles across somebody like Alex Kane. Tell me how that relationship came about.
I think really I just met Alex from one of the jam night things that happens out here in LA. There's in normal life, there's a few different nights, Ultimate Jam Night and Soundcheck Live that happen around town. And so probably just met him from there. I know where we really connected though was from he did a show maybe about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago for a memorial show for his friend Ben Graves that had passed,
Okay.
drummer for the Murder Dolls. And that's where I think we really kind of started connecting and become really good friends because he had me play as like the house guitar player with another guitar player. And we just worked really hard on that. And we've just been really close ever since. And then Johnny, I think kind of the same thing, just started playing together with, at the different jam nights and it's kind of funny because I was just thinking I was going to text the guys this, but I forgot. That's kind of what happens if I don't do it right then. I forget. But when I was first here, when I first moved here, I was like 18 and I was always like, man, I'd love just to get to jam with these guys, to get to jam with guys like Johnny and Ace and, you know, and Alex and blah, blah, blah. And now it's like, now we're just doing this
Now you can't
silly
get rid of
stuff.
them.
And it's,
Yeah.
yeah, now it's just like normal. Yeah.
That's great.
But I love them dearly.
So I know that you're a younger guitarist than most of the guys on the scene. How old are you exactly, if you don't mind me asking?
I am 25 for the
Oh,
next 2 months.
okay.
3 months, sorry. Can't do
Nice. So the guys were wrong. Whenever I brought this up, they had said that you were younger than me. And so, but I'm still the baby now. I just turned 25 in December. So I
that.
just
Oh, nice.
wedged you out for baby New Year just a little bit. So
Oh, nice.
very cool. So what really brought up the project with Alex and them? What made you guys want to, you know, because there's a big difference between showing up and jamming with people and that kind of atmosphere than taking on a studio project.
I think, yeah, I mean, this was kind of honestly like the similar kind of idea to just getting together and jamming, but just with a lot more work involved.
Absolutely.
Just, you know, but we all have all the time in the world right now, kind of. So, yeah, I don't really know. The idea to do Jingle Bells for Christmas came up. So we did that, and it ended up being really fun and coming out really, really cool. So we were like, okay, I guess we'll do it for every holiday.
That's
So
great.
now we're doing the second one.
So tell everybody a little bit about what you got coming out this Sunday, if you can.
We have a cover of Cupid by Sam Cooke originally. It does not sound like the original anymore. And yeah, and it's, you know, about 2.5 minutes of guitar solos, as it should be. And it's really fun. There's a couple special guests on it, and that's coming out this Sunday for Valentine's Day.
Great. You know, there's no better way to spend Valentine's Day than have Alex Kane singing to you, man. It gets you going pretty well.
I don't really know any other way to spend Valentine's Day other than Alex Kane singing at you and Johnny Martin in a Gimp mask.
That's great. So were you a big fan of these guys, you know, before you got involved in the scene very heavily? Did you listen to bands like Enough's Enough and LA Guns?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Even you know, being in Faster Pussycat, like I never listened to that music before. Where I kind of come from, more of I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, so there was 2 rock stations there basically, and still kind of are. There's the classic rock radio, and then there's like the modern rock alternative radio. So that was mostly where I lived, on the modern rock kind of alternative, with like listening to bands like Shinedown and 3 Days Grace and Seether, and that's kind of what is near and dear to my heart. But then like Alice in Chains is my favorite band of all time.
Oh, great. Yeah, we could just talk about them for the rest of the episode.
I'm down for
Perfect.
everybody else.
Thank you all for tuning into the Alice in Chains talk. This is now, we have hijacked this episode.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But, you know, I mostly, I guess, got into most of those bands just because my friends are in the bands, really, you know. So I kind of got into LA Guns because of touring with them and like opening for them with Butterside, and then, you know, the fact that I was friends with all the guys.
Very cool. Yeah, so a lot of the same bands, we're very close in age, so I know a lot of that typical scene around that time when we were growing up, so I totally get that. So kind of brief everybody about how you ended up getting that gig in Faster, because you talk about your band Butterside opened up for some of these guys, and then you find yourself in the band. So kind of tell everybody how that came about.
Basically, yeah, I mean, for a lot of years, yeah, with Butterside, it opened up for LA Guns, and then I played with a singer named Gabby Ray for a while, where we had played on a lot of the same festival dates as a lot of these kind of bands. And so it was kind of opening for all those kind of guys. And the Faster thing came up because Ace had texted me quite a like a few years ago now, and he had asked if I had ever wanted to sub, if he ever needed a sub, if there was ever kind of an issue or something that came up, date conflict. And I was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to. And then he had texted me prior to the summer tour of 2019. So he texted me maybe in like, I don't know. I kind of want to say May, but maybe it was April. I don't really know. And he asked if I wanted to do the tour because he had conflicting dates with LA Guns. And I was like, of course, I'd love to. And so I've been here ever since.
That's great. And I had Ace on last night, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard it now. He refers to you as his sort of protege, and he's like, he would probably disagree with that, but that's what I always refer to him as.
Here, I'm going to, just before we have an issue, I just heard my AirPods say that they're dying. So
Okay.
I'm going to switch.
Perfect. I'll just entertain everybody with some juggling and, all the fun stuff to do whenever you're just sitting here. So no sweat though, get it taken care of, and I'll just make sure that we're ready to go whenever you're back. There we go. Yep, I can hear you fine.
There we go.
I only ran off half the audience too while that was happening.
Yeah, I mean, Ace, I view Ace very much as like the older brother that I never had. So he likes to use that, what's that word, protege?
Protege is what's been thrown around this week.
You know what? And he's been a lot of help with, career stuff and different things, outside of playing guitar, because the guitar stuff is only one little tiny fraction of this whole deal. So he's been really, really helpful to me. And like I said, he's basically like the older brother that I've always wanted, even though he likes to say never wanted, but no, I've always, so he's great.
That's great. So I kind of want to fast forward a little bit now to current times. So I talked to Ace last night. I saw Chad the other night as well, and talked to both of those guys about it. Faster Pussycat's working on some new music right now. Can you tell us where you guys are at in the process right now?
No. Yeah, I'm kidding.
Hey man, no, that's a perfectly acceptable answer. If you can't, you can't, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Because I have no idea, and
Perfect.
I don't think I'm kidding. I'm very much kidding. So yeah, there's some new songs in the bag. There's hopefully the first single is coming soon. I know every day is kind of, Tammy's working out the details of stuff, so I don't want to say too much. There's no dates in place or anything, but he's working. I think this is kind of the first time that he's done it completely like independently, so there's a lot of learning.
It's been a long time since Faster's put out some music, so it's the last album, the Glory Hole album in 06, 15 years, man, that's a hell of a lot of different strategies you got to undergo when you're putting out an album.
Yeah, and I think this might be the first time that he's doing it independently. So like I said, there's a lot of learning curves and different things, that not everybody realizes. It's not just, okay, record a couple songs, cool, put them out, this and that. It's like there's all these different things for putting it out. And, he's gotten test pressings of the vinyl because it's going to be like vinyl 7-inch single.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so there's all different stuff that's been going into it, but there is for sure a single and a B-side that are done and set to come out, and then the next single and the next B-side we're in the process of finishing to then get to Gilby Clarke to start mixing.
That's great. Now, one thing I want to know is, are you involved in the songwriting process during this, or is this something, that Tammy's handling with other people, or kind of what's going on with that?
No, I mean, I don't think I could possibly be more involved than I am. It's
okay, great.
So a lot of the songs that we've done so far are songs that Tammy's had kind of, in the vault for a little bit. So he's kind of, written them, but he, if I have an idea for a riff to kind of make something, not to say better, but like, if I have an idea that could kind of make it cooler or whatever.
Add some flavor to it.
Yeah, he's completely open to letting me do that kind of stuff and come up with crazy stuff, or drop my low E string down to an A for one part, or record talk box with the low E down to a G, just like silly crap. So he's really, really, really great to work with. And it's been really, really fun to be super, super hands-on. And, you know, just because it's the first music that's coming from Faster Pussycat in 15 years. So
that's great. Was there ever a point in the band, you know, that you really kind of felt the new guy pressure a lot, and has working with Tammy, you know, writing like this kind of alleviated some of that pressure?
I mean, yeah, when I was first playing with them on the first tour, there was definitely kind of, I had that pressure just because I was just going in just to fill in and just, you know, be there to, you know, try to execute the parts as well as possible. But then it kind of got more and more comfortable once the guys were kind of telling me that they wanted me to stay with the band. Then it just kind of kept getting more and more comfortable to where, you know, when we were playing shows late 2019 and then early 2020 before the apocalypse, it kind of felt more like I felt, I don't know, you know, still kind of like owning it, I guess, a little bit more is kind of what it felt like, at least.
That's great. So you talk about that you weren't really listening to this kind of music a lot before getting involved in the scene the way you have. So how do you approach writing for a band like Faster Pussycat, you know, opposed to some of your other projects? Are you trying to, you know, necessarily incorporate stuff that is from your playing in those other worlds? Or are you like, okay, this is what this world is, and that's what I'm going to try to stick to for that?
Well, a little bit of both, because, you know, for the classic kind of Faster Pussycat kind of thing, it's, you know, that kind of thing. It's, you know, Chuck Berry and, you know, different stuff like that. But then, as people heard with the Glory Hole record, Tammy has an evil side, and with the Newly Deads. So he's very much into that kind of industrial thing too, which I very much love as well. So there's certain things here and there that, you know, I'm all for whatever's appropriate for the song, or if it's just like a crazy idea that just makes something cool. So I know there's a guitar solo on maybe not the single coming after, not the second single, but the third possible single, where I did like some whammy pedal stuff and kind of a little, you know, more modern kind of sounding thing. But it's all, I kind of handle each project differently. I handle Butterside one way because it's, you know, more of a modern thing, and, you know, it's heavier riffs and heavier parts. And then, you know, Faster Pussycat, there's a whole legacy there already to kind of be like, okay, it's got to kind of be something like this.
Absolutely. One of the first people I had on here was actually Brent Muscat. So I had a lot of fun getting to talk to him about some of those early days. That was very cool.
I'd love to meet him and or Greg one day. It'd be cool.
Yeah, Brent was a very nice guy, and that was the first time I had got to meet him was through this. But I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with him, and arguably might be my favorite episode that I've done. Like out of the like 2020 episodes, that first batch I did, Brent Muscat is, you know, inching away at that #1 spot. That was a really fun episode that I did.
Well, that's awesome. I love playing his and Greg's guitar parts. So.
Absolutely. It's all fantastic material as well. There's a reason those guys had their mark on the Sunset Strip in the 80s the way they did.
Dude, completely. I mean, the parts are so great. There's so many great guitar parts.
So I'm sure now you've seen the band in Decline of Western Civilization, but had you seen that prior to going into the gig?
I had not, no. And then after being in the band for a while, my friend is like, you got to kind of watch this because
absolutely
in the band. It's like, yeah, you know, and I just kind of live under a rock and don't really watch anything to begin with, really. But yeah, I saw it.
Great. What were your thoughts on that? Because that's an interesting take on it. Not seeing it until you're an active member of the band that you're watching this stuff happen. What was your kind of takeaway from that? The whole movie is kind of just chaos in general, but you know,
It really is chaos. You know, it's just that was that time. You know, it's crazy, crazy stuff, and you know, I'm not a partier or anything, so I don't party, I don't drink, I don't do any of the fun
wow,
stuff. So
nice.
I'm happy to be in it now in the well, Tammy's the only one who's sober, so I was gonna say in this more sober years,
That's
yeah,
okay, but
so
if he's steering the train though, you know that's great for him, and it's
oh
awesome
dude,
hearing stuff like that.
he's the goddamn pilot.
That's great. It definitely, I can't wait to hear some stuff. I know Faster Pussycat fans have been waiting a long time to kind of hear some new music from that camp, and it was kind of cool hearing Ace talk about the other night, kind of giving some insight, you know, to some of the other reasons that might have led to there being this delay in some Faster Pussycat music over the last 10 years. Because you got to think a guy like Ace committed a lot of time to that band, and 10 years and being in a band and no album coming out can do a little, I guess, damage on you when you're investing that much emotionally into a project.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really gonna go into I don't really know what of the legal stuff Ace went into, but I'm not gonna go into that because we're actually not supposed to be talking about that.
Okay,
But
let's just move off of it then. Hey,
but no. But I do want to say, you know, that I've been in positions like that where I've been involved in bands and not getting to, you know, actually be on, you know, the recorded material. And I, for one, am, you know, just honored to be there, to be a part of this, and glad that, you know, Ace does have some involvement with some stuff, and, you know, just happy to be a part of the whole thing.
That's great, and I apologize completely for possibly leading that in that direction.
No.
I really make it a really conscious decision to stay away from anything that's like blabbermouth can come in here and fuck our whole week up or something like that.
Oh, no. Anything you said won't get me
Okay,
in trouble. That'll only get Ace in trouble for talking about it.
nice. Well, good for Ace. That was already published by like Sleaze Rocks and everything like that, so he's already dealing with that. We'll let Ace deal with all that. Well, cool. We'll move away from that for sure.
Yeah.
So I know some of the gigs that you've got to do with Faster is the Monster of Rock cruise. So talk to me a little bit about what your experience playing those gigs has been like.
It's a great time. I mean, the Monsters of Rock cruise, it's freaking Disneyland for a week, man. It's, you know, you're on a boat with a bunch of musicians and a bunch of cool people that like music, and it's so much fun. I've gotten to do 4 cruises so far. I believe 4 cruises, but 2 of the Monsters of Rock ones. And the first one was with Butterside. Oddly enough, both of them were this exact time. So Buttersides was about 3 years ago, and then Faster's was last year. With Faster, it was a whole other type of energy, though, because getting to be on there with that band, they've been on every single cruise. You know, they're just like the notorious, you know, guys, and it was really, really cool to get to be on there in that way with that band.
Are there any specific memories, you know, that stick out from those? Not necessarily even playing, because there's just a whole mirage of musicians on those ships. So is there anything that, you know, that kind of sticks out in your mind?
We could do a whole podcast, I think, about that. But yeah, a couple of the ones that very much stick out in my mind was before playing the first show with Pussycat on the cruise. The first one we were doing was the pool stage show, which again, they're kind of infamous for. And kind of talking to Eddie Trunk for a second. I brought my mom on the cruise because
that's great.
You know, I've never gotten to really do anything special for my mom in that kind of way. And I'm like, this just felt like a really, really cool opportunity to be able to to do something cool and surprise her with it. So
that's great.
You know, we're getting set up and doing all that stuff. And I guess my mom had talked to Eddie Trunk for a minute. So then Eddie came to me and he's like, yeah, I was just talking to your mom. And he's like, I'm excited to see the show. And, this is my, first time seeing you with the guys. So, good luck, break a leg, whatever. And then, afterwards he was really, really nice and really complimentary. And that was really cool for me. And another thing was, Doug Aldrich is one of my favorite guitar players, and he was on the cruise. And
Doug's a monster.
Yeah.
No pun intended. I swear I didn't plan that out.
All puns intended. And he, on our second show, there was kind of like it was kind of like a theatery, clubby kind of show. Most of the show, he was like right there on the side of the stage, like next to my amps, just like, watching the whole gig. And then afterwards he was like, oh yeah, man, I watched the whole show the other night and I watched this and you're really, really great and this and that. I'm like, oh my God, you're like,
That's great.
So those are a couple of my favorite little.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that
memories
with me. I'm hoping my mom's not listening to this episode because now she's going to be like, well, why don't you ever do anything like that? So
do stuff for your mom.
Yeah, that was, thanks for sharing.
Oh, hi,
stories.
Mom.
That's great. Very cool. Man, I was about to segue into something and then thinking about that dumb comment, just kind of threw me off real quick. So Doug Aldrich, that's what I was about to ask you about. Did you listen to his playing a lot growing up? Was he a big influence on you?
Yeah, I mean, ever since I kind of first got into Whitesnake, maybe when I was like probably 16 or 17, that's, of course, when I discovered them, it was the version with him in the band. It's kind of like a lot of bands. Like when I discovered Alice in Chains, they already had the new lead singer. Or when I discovered, when I first discovered Guns N' Roses, it was the Use Your Illusion, which I see on your wall. And, I didn't even know there was a lineup prior to the Gilby Clarke and Matt Sorum lineup. But I've just always been a fan of his playing and tone and vibrato. And I was actually just listening to the new Dead Daisies record last night, and it is just so great. Like his playing and his riffs are just like so great.
Yeah, I've only heard, I think, a track or two off of this one. I need to go pick it up because this is the first one with Glenn Hughes singing vocals on it, and Glenn's just an absolute powerhouse, man. That dude is just rock and roll, just embodied.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of like one of those cases where, the album itself is much better. Not that the first single wasn't great. The first single was great, but the rest of the record, it's like, whoa, there's a lot of stuff. It's way heavier than I expected. I haven't really listened too closely to see keys, but I'm pretty sure there's some drop C stuff on there.
Oh, wow. Cool. Okay. Well, I mean, those guys are getting older, so, you tune down to help the voice a little. So if let's say they're tuned down to D standard and you go down, drop D for that, that's pretty low. And you got to accommodate once you start getting up in the ages a little bit for the vocal cords.
Well, I mean, I'm not even saying for that. I just love low tunings. I want C to be my standard.
Which, I say that it's kind of a dumb comment when you think about it, because you go watch videos of guys like Glenn Hughes, and Glenn still just fucking belts it out. No problem.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't.
So that dude ain't tuning down, so.
He doesn't need the help. They're obviously just tuning down because they want it to be heavy or whatever they're doing.
We'll just edit that out so I look less dumb. Just kidding. It's live, so we can't do that. But cool. So you touched on it a little bit. Mr. Gilby Clarke is the one who's kind of handling the board on this Faster Pussycat stuff. How did that come about? Were you around when that kind of came to fruition?
It's kind of I just think that's what has always kind of been decided by Tammy, because Gilby's a good buddy of Tammy's and they ride motorcycles together all the time. And I think it was just, that was always just kind of the plan since we started working on stuff. So, for me, like I said, when I first got into Guns N' Roses, I didn't even realize there was a lineup, before Gilby and Matt. So I got the Use Your Illusion DVDs. Specifically, I think I got the second one first because it started with You Could Be Mine, and that's still my favorite Guns N' Roses song.
Nice.
And so, and then I watched Gilby Clarke on that TV show that he was on, that Rockstar Supernova TV show.
Yeah, I watched that. It was him, Tommy Lee, and
Jason Newsted.
yeah, that was very cool. My parents watched that, so I would always watch that with them when it came on.
Yeah, and I saw him. He was one of my early concerts, not first or maybe the second or third concert pretty early on was, that tour after that show. So kind of, and also when I first moved to LA, the first time I ever got to get up and jam at a jam night happened to be with Gilby.
Oh, nice.
Highway Star. So coming
Oh, wow.
full circle, and the fact that he's mixing my guitar playing on the new Faster stuff is really cool. Just as somebody I've always thought he's really cool since I was 11 years old. So
Have you got to work with him a lot, like with his part of the album? Are you guys having hands-on time together, or is it, you finish your parts and they get sent to him and that's kind of the end of that?
we record stuff at Tammy.
Oh, okay, so you're actually tracking with him around.
No. We track stuff at Tammy's house. So Tammy has his own studio at his place, and then the stuff gets sent off to Gilby. But then, yes, I have gotten to work hands-on with him because on the first single, after he kind of sent a couple mixes, Tammy and I went over to kind of make some edits and kind of work kind of hands-on on that. And then for the B-side, Chad recorded drums at Gilby's. So then it was pretty hands-on there with making sure that, we wanted it to be killer. And so, yeah, yes and no, but yes.
Very cool. So cool. We'll kind of move off from the Faster Pussycat thing a little bit. You talk about you grew up in St. Louis, and while we're talking about GNR guitarist, any run-ins with Mr. Richard Fortis in St. Louis?
Yeah, actually. I met Richard about a couple years ago, and I met him at NAMM, which was kind of like, not really, that wasn't really like the place that I was hoping to be able to meet him, but I was like, there was, kind of always wanted to be able to meet him and connect these couple of dots that, A, being from St. Louis, and then B, he grew up, I think, in high school looking up to the same guy that I looked up to since I was 13, and somebody who's still one of my best friends, who I owe a lot of basically any cool stuff I feel like I do on guitar, I owe to this guy named Mark Krall.
Okay.
So, and again, Richard looked up to him, I guess, in high school. And so I met Richard, and, he got to hang and talk for a little bit. And then he did this show in St. Louis with this group, Headtronics, this kind of like one of the coolest shows I think I've ever seen, because it was all completely improvised. It was a 5-piece band, so no singing, but it was Fortis, a bass player, a drummer, a DJ, and a keyboard player.
Okay.
I apparently, like, all the music was 100% improvised. So somebody just started playing something, and then everything just got built around it, and then it'd go on for 13 minutes with everybody taking solos, and it was so sick.
That's great.
And yeah, I got to talk to Richard a bit after that show, and then he had started following me on Instagram, so then we kind of kept in touch a little bit here and there, and yeah, so he's been he's been pretty cool to me, and it was it's been cool getting to talk with him some.
Yeah, that's amazing. Richard's a hell of a player. You know, that was one of my main things I took away whenever I got to go see the reunion when it first happened was I left and I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, that dude was shredding the entire time he was touching his guitar. Just like, not even necessarily if he's playing a solo, he's just playing the shit out of his instrument the entire night.
It's just like his everything about it. It's just the energy, the look, the tone. He's just like, you know, such a great rock guitar player, or even beyond just rock guitar player, but just like, and then yeah, same thing. When I saw the reunion version, I was like, I don't really want to see it any other way. I mean, it'd be really, really cool if Izzy came back or if Gilby played a little bit, you know, but like, I love seeing it with Richard personally.
Absolutely. And that's kind of my thing on it is yes, of course, any Guns N' Roses fan would love for the original five guys to be there. I would love to be able to go see Steve and Izzy with them. Unfortunately, that's not how it is. But if there was going to be anybody up there besides Izzy Stradlin, you can't really get a better fit than the way Richard Fortus has handled that gig.
Completely. And I mean, he's been in Guns N' Roses longer than any other guitar
he's
player.
been there for like 19 years now. I literally think besides Axl, nobody has been in that band longer than him.
Other than Dizzy, I think.
Yes, Dizzy, that's correct. He came in Use Your Illusion tour. So really, I mean,
completely, dude. It's pretty cool.
9-10 years on him, which that's a hell of a long time now. So kudos to those guys being able to still go out and do the damn thing.
Yeah.
So if I'm correct, you went to Musicians Institute out in Los Angeles. I don't know why the fuck I just said that.
That was great.
I just woke up right before this, so my brain's like, dude, why are you trying to like do shit in public like right now? So yeah.
Oh, dude, I understand. I had to get up in the morning today, so I'm right there with
Horrifying.
Scary thing.
That's great. Musicians Institute in Los Angeles. There we go. I fucking nailed it. Give me my Grammy. So you talk about how, you know, you were listening to some bands like Shinedown and stuff like that, who, when you think of like Guitar Institute players like Paul Gilbert and stuff like that, that's not necessarily the type of playing that you think of. So what was it kind of like for you going into a situation like that, to where, you know, a lot of the guys you might not connect with on, you know, the musical taste side of things?
It was a really, really cool experience. I definitely would not be the guitar player or the musician that I am today if it wasn't for MI, and I wouldn't be in LA probably right now if it wasn't for MI. So I'm very thankful for that. And it is actually kind of funny because I've been thinking about this because a friend of mine mentioned this to me a couple weeks ago, that it's like, that it kind of seemed like from his perspective that I'm much more into like riffy kind of guitar players than I am the like Guitar Hero type of guitar players. Not that I'm not into that, and I completely love all that kind of stuff. But then when I kind of started thinking about it, like a lot of my favorite guitar players are mostly kind of like riff guys, and I'm very much attracted to a killer riff over you know, sweeps.
Yeah, I'm totally in the same boat with you on that.
Yeah. So you know, at MI it was really, really great to be able to learn a lot of stuff outside of the box, and you learn a lot of things that was, you know, not even related to guitar, like Pro Tools and Logic, and writing and arranging for strings and horns, and having to do at least in the bachelor program, you had to do these final pieces called juries, where you had to do like 6 or 7 different songs, chart out everybody's parts. So write out all the drum parts, all the vocal parts, all the bass parts, and then all your parts. And then you had to do like a horn arrangement. So you had to do all the horn parts, and you had to take a song and make it into something with horns. There's so much stuff you had to do.
Pete.
Yeah, I don't know how I made it, but I did.
No, I'm assuming by you saying that you can read sheet music pretty well.
I can a bit. I always like kind of I don't like saying this, but I always kind of BS'd my way through the reading because just like I'm not a big reader. I like using my ears, and I like there were ear training classes, and I love that because it's like I've always learned songs and learned things by ear since I was a little kid. I mean, even going way far back to when I first started taking lessons when I was like 10, I would always kind of BS my way through the book stuff for the first 15 minutes of the lesson to get to learning to the Green Day songs in the second 15 minutes. So, it's something that's definitely important, and I can do a bit, but I much more prefer to rely on my ears.
That's great. So I want to kind of, touch on some more of the fun stuff before we get out of here. So you talk about you're more into guitar players that are riffers instead of necessarily shredders. Guys like Yngwie, I'm assuming, is what you're referring to, that kind of playing. Not necessarily that you can't appreciate their playing, but I get what you're saying. So when you say that you're into guitarists that are more riffers, who are some of your biggest influence in that respect?
Jerry Cantrell is a big one. I mean, he's basically my number one. Vivian Campbell is a big one. Doug Aldrich, Slash, Tony Iommi. Just, those are all
The greats.
yeah, those are all pretty big riff gods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see dirt up there in the corner of your shot. I just realized that now that we're kind of briefly on the Alice in Chains thing.
Yeah, I mean that's, and like I said, not that I'm not into the Guitar Hero shreddy thing, because I very much am. I like trying to be able to play as many notes as I possibly can at times, but I very much kind of gravitate more towards the riffs and the songs more so.
Now, are you a fan of the Alice in Chains stuff with William Duvall on vocals?
110%, yes.
Yeah, me too. I think he's done one of the better jobs of coming in and replacing somebody in a band like that, and just kind of putting his own print on that position.
Completely. And personally for me, being such a big Jerry Cantrell fan, Jerry has even more prominent of a role now with kind of lead singing more. And so I'm all for it, and I love the songs, and William is such a great singer and such a great guitar player that, they're still my favorite band in the world. All the new stuff, even Rainier Fog, which I actually have over on this wall, is one of my favorite records ever.
Yeah, Jerry Cantrell, he's got that shit down to a science for him to just pump out an amazing, just grunge hard rock song.
Yeah, dude.
So another fun little question about Alice in Chains. If you had to put Sap and Jar of Flies up against each other, which one are you taking?
Jar of Flies.
It's pretty close,
Yeah.
and it's a little unfair because I think Jar of Flies might have like an extra song or two on it. Sap's pretty short, but man, Sap what a kick-ass little EP that is. It's a really close call, but I think I'd have to be with you on Jar of Flies, just wedging it out by a little.
Just a little bit, it's really hard to pick between the two. It's really hard to pick any records being the favorite from Alice in Chains, but if that's the gun to the head answer.
Yeah, great band, great stuff. So before we get out of here, let everybody know where they can check your stuff out online, and remind everybody again about what you got coming out this Sunday.
Well, first, let me touch on my band Butterside. We have
Okay.
a single actually coming out next Friday, 1 week from today, from this moment that's happening currently, we have another single that's coming out and a music video that I'm really, really proud of. That it's for the song called Wide Awake. And then our whole record drops on March 26th. And so very, very excited to get that stuff out, to then move on to some other stuff, because we've been writing, recording a lot during this whole apocalypse, and we started a third record back in December. So as soon as basically, you know, this second record, Spiritual Violence, comes out on March 26th, we're going to be hitting it pretty hard with new stuff.
Okay.
Pretty soon.
Now, is this coming out on a label, or are you guys releasing this by yourselves?
It is. It's coming out on Motorhead Music.
Okay.
Yeah, so Lemmy had signed the band. Prior to me joining the band, he had signed the band to Motorhead Music. It was the first band that had been signed by Lemmy. And
that's great.
Yeah. So that's what's coming out in the near future. Pussycat, new stuff dates still pending, because I have no idea. And then this Sunday is Have and the Have-Nots, our cover of Cupid by Sam Cooke, just completely put into the blender and then spit out.
Fantastic. Yeah, Mr. Alex Kane just texted me a few minutes ago, and he said he sure is charming, isn't he?
Yeah, man. He's just so much fun. And the video, I'm actually in the process of editing the video right now. So Alex sends like 10 different things, and it's like, here you go.
That's great.
So, he's a lot of fun, and you know, I want to actually do a version of the video only with Alex, because it's just like there's too many things to kind of fit into 3 minutes and 4 seconds.
Absolutely. Yeah, Alex is a great guy. He's shown me nothing but love since I've met him, so I've got a lot of respect for that dude.
Yeah, just great guy, and I cannot shut up enough about how talented and amazing he is.
Well, next time I bring you on, we'll just rant about Alex Kane for like an hour. How's that sound?
We can do that anytime too.
That sounds great. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on here. Me and you will be able to say goodbye off air, but I really appreciate you coming on here and telling some stories for everybody and just kind of hanging out with me. So thank you so much, and I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. It was a lot of fun. I'll see you guys here soon.
Thanks.